What's up, YouTube? It's MattCock83, and we're here with another episode of Inside the Creator Studio. And today I got a very special guest, Mr. Chicken Bone. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thanks.
And for those of you living under a rock, Chicken Bones is the creator of Not Enough Items. I usually ask everybody the same amount of questions, but one I got special for you is, what's the deal with the picture of the cat?
Well, the cat is my cat, obviously. Family pet got it a while ago, and I'm trying to think of what to put on any of my stuff, and generally I don't like to put photos of myself, and even for personal things, I think photos of myself look terrible just because I'm in them. So I put my cat because she looks cute and adorable and not like me.
I've seen a bunch of people comment about the cute cat. Well, if you could give us an overview of Not Enough Items, who better to tell us about the mod than the guy who created it?
Well, it started out when a couple of guys in the IRC that I'm generally on, Red Power, suggested, and they were talking about recipe book and too many items, and how once you got Red Power with all its micro blocks and a bunch of other mods, it was practically impossible to find everything, especially with recipe book and 600 pages. And then someone suggested, why don't you merge the two together? And I thought, oh, that's a fairly good idea. So I had a look at them both, and that was the primary goal, and I decided to make Too Many Items, my version, with recipe book as part of it, as the main feature. And then as it went on, I decided to add various other things that I thought Too Many Items lacked, particularly the search feature, which made the recipes practical, and other things as time went on. And that's how I got started.
That is one of my favorite features of it, is this search bar at the bottom. It makes getting through there so much easier. How did you get into modding in the first place?
Well, since I was fairly young, when I first got introduced to a computer and got past Microsoft Word, my favorite thing to do was Microsoft Excel. It might be strange, but I enjoyed making different things with the formulas and doing my math in spreadsheets. And then eventually I found out about the record macro button, and after that how to edit them, and read up on the internet about the code, and gradually learnt a bit of Visual Basic, enough that I made a few nifty things in Excel, like a word finder, like, you know, those find a word puzzles. I made a generator for one of those. And then along the way there was a couple of games like Halo and old Pokemon for Game Boy Advance that had scripting engines, and that was how I got into modding games and programming specifically. Then one of my friends introduced me to Minecraft, and found out about Minecraft Coder Pack, and went from there.
Well, how much time do you put into Not Enough Items? Say, I don't know, how much time per week does it take to keep it up and going?
Not enough items specifically. It depends whether I'm on holidays or not. But I might put in, I don't know, 2 to 5 hours a week. Modding in total, I'll generally do 2 hours a day, or on holidays 8 to 10 hours a day, because that's pretty much all I enjoy doing.
Now, for most people that have heard of NEI, they go straight to your post on the Minecraft forums, grab what they need for NEI, and take off. Now, I don't know if anybody else spends as much time reading the original post, but there's quite a few other things on there. Can you tell us a few other mods that you have on that page?
Well, there's Ender Chest, which is the mod I think is the most beautifully designed, mainly because I didn't design it. And it's simple and works brilliantly. Took me 2 days to make, when one of my friends in Red Power IRC again suggested that we make this idea together, and he designed and did the textures and wrote it up, and it works great, especially with mods like Red Power and Buildcraft for transferring items between dimensions. And then there's Wireless Redstone, Chicken Bones Edition. And that was my first mod. Originally, I saw Wireless Redstone and thought it could have some work. Especially, I didn't particularly like how cheap things were, and the graphics weren't that good. And as it went on, I added various things, and mainly the integration with Red Power, which LRM fortunately allowed me. I made the blocks able to go on the walls and ceilings, and developed various graphics and things, and now I've added a lot of features compared to the original mod, especially some of the add-ons, such as the wireless map and new trackers to come. And it's quite good now, especially one of the main motivations, again, was trying to find stuff. Because all you had was numbers 1 to 5,000, you had to remember what they were in the original one.
Yes.
So I added the advanced GUI, which is the main part, and you can color your frequencies and set them and give them names and all kinds of things to help you manage them.
Yeah, that was one problem with wireless redstone. If you used, 2 or 3 frequencies, you're alright, but if you get into a world where you're using them constantly, it gets to be a pain trying to remember them. Also in here I see Code Chicken Loader. Can you tell us anything about it?
Yes. That, when I was first starting modding, back in 1.8.1, I tried to make that and failed, and gave up on it. So I came back with more experience pretty much in the last Christmas holidays, and actually wrote it. And it had, its main motivation was loading all your mods from the mods folder. So rather than having to edit your jar, you could just put everything in the mods folder and it would patch them at runtime. And additionally, it allowed me to edit the code as it was loaded and do things such as redirecting files, so you could have stuff stored in different directories and overriding things, which led to the main purpose I currently use it for, is it can download all the mods and config files from a server when you connect and run it from there. So I have a LAN network and people in my house play when I have friends over. They like to play Minecraft. They just get a copy of Minecraft on their computer, install Chicken Loader, and they can connect and it downloads everything they need to. So when I make updates, it makes it much easier, especially since my server runs straight out of my dev environment, which means I can code the server as it's running and then send updates along. But it's not quite finished yet, and I plan to finish it in the next few days, or at least finish it to a fairly well working state, remove some of the bugs, but that's its main purpose.
Do you have any ideas for any mods coming up in the future you may want to tackle? Anything you can talk about at this time?
No, not really, because one of the things I'm not good at is ideas and design. I'm a problem-solving person who mainly programs to solve a problem. Unfortunately, that means most of my mods relate in some way to other mods out there, but that's okay. Although I do have plans for Wireless Redstone, and I have asked for the community, people who are good at designing, to help me work on them, and I've just got a current list basic overview. Currently, if you've seen the jammers or the REPs in Wireless Redstone, they do nothing but look awesome and annoy people. And I've decided on an idea for making Wireless Redstone more complete and making a bit more sense. And I decided to make the Rether a dimension you can actually go to. The Rether stands for the Redstone Ether, for lack of a better name. And when you're in this dimension, you'll go there by putting a bunch of transmitters and receivers in a certain pattern on the same frequency, which will open a tear, which you can go through as a portal to the Rether. And in there, everything that's a transmitter or a receiver in the real world have a kind of orb showing its presence in the ether, which you can find. And rather than being like most dimensions, where one position relates to another position in the other dimension, the different frequencies will be grouped together, kind of like biomes, and have different terrain depending on their value. And jamming, instead, in the weather, you'll see the characteristic lightning, which I'm rather fond of, traveling between transmitters and receivers. And you'll be able to put jammers to attract the lightning instead and essentially stop the signal from ever reaching any receivers or going out past any transmitters. So that's going to be the new way to work with jamming and managing that kind of thing for protection and security. And it's not fully developed, even the idea, and it's going to take me a month or so to create. So I want people to help me with what kind of things there should be, like bosses and redstone based things and different terrain elements and mobs, something to make this dimension an interesting redstone dimension with lots of things for people to do.
That sounds like it's going to be pretty interesting once that gets taken care of. Excuse me. Two things I saw on your OP a day or two ago, I believe. One thing was the Adfly. If you hate Adfly, if you throw yourself a donation, you'll be put on a mailing list. So is this, or an email, if you submit an email address, so is this like a mailing list?
Kind of. Some people complain about Adfly. Frankly, I'm 15 and I spend all my time programming for enjoyment, but I still run on pocket money. And fortunately I can get by with that. But Dad always says you should earn money from your stuff, and I don't particularly like the idea of selling anything I've made, especially not for Minecraft. But when I found out about Adfly, because lots of modders were using it, I figured it'd be nice to get a little extra income in turn for people using what I've made. And I think if somebody wants to use one of my mods, then 5 seconds or 30 seconds of their time is not much to pay in return, if you know what I mean.
I've never had an issue or a problem with Adfly, especially if you've downloaded Buildcraft or Red Power, where there's 5 or 6 on Buildcraft and 7 downloads for them. Those take a little bit of time, but I hear a lot of people complaining about
I don't
virus.
even mind. I think spending a minute or two downloading all the parts of Red Power, I mean, doesn't bother me that I have to wait another minute and do a few more clicks.
No, I mean, once you've done it once, I mean, it really takes no time to do it. It's just you hear a lot of people complaining that there's some kind of malware or viruses with Adfly. I've never seen it. I went through Adfly countless times, but I don't see it.
I haven't seen any viruses or anything. I mean, you just click skip the ad. It's not a big deal.
But you're the first person I've seen to actually have somewhat like a mailing list for it. But that's
well, I was discussing it in the IRC again, because that's generally where I am when I'm programming, and a lot of people said I'd be quite happy to throw $5 in a donation button to have no Adfly. So I thought, well, that sounds fair enough. If anybody actually wants to and thinks they'd rather put $5 in instead of a little bit of their time each time, then go ahead and I'll put you on an emailing list and you can get all direct links to the new versions.
That's really nice to do that. Something else I saw in here is you now allow not enough items to be in modpacks.
Yeah, all my mods in modpacks. On the same day I was discussing modpack policies, and a lot of mods just allow themselves freely to be in mod packs with credit, and I thought I'd adopt that policy because it's not really a big deal, and as long as people are using it, I don't mind. More people learn about it. I realise it's not like I'm out here to earn money or anything, or that it's taking away from my Adfly. That doesn't matter. So may as well, mod packs are fine.
That's what I've always kind of sat on the fence when it came to stuff like mod packs. With, you got some that are everybody's okay with, and you got ones like the evil technique that everybody hates. I've always kind of stayed on the fence, just because as much as I want to condemn stuff people like Technic for, not doing the right thing, but at the same time, that's where I first heard about Buildcraft, and then that's where I heard about Red Power and IC2. I'm assuming at one point I would have found them, but that mod pack just happened. I've just introduced me to a lot more, and I'm derailed on my train of thought where I was trying to go with this, but
all modders can decide what they want to do with what they've made, and I don't mind what decisions people make.
Well, let's get into a little bit about you. Where are you from?
Well, I'm from Brisbane, Australia, and that's about as specific as I go. Yeah, I go to school in grade 12 at the moment, and had exam week just before. Didn't bother me too much. I prefer exams to assignments, and I'm fortunate I don't have to study much. I skipped grade 9, so I have a very logical, math-oriented brain, which has helped me a lot with programming, considering I'm entirely self-taught from the internet.
I can imagine. You got any other hobbies other than Minecraft or coding in general? Just anything else you're interested in?
Like anybody, I enjoy doing things with my friends, but I don't have many friends who live near me. Usually they're at school, so I play chess a lot at school. And I do things like Pathfinders, which is church-based scout club, and things like that on some weekends to get out of my room. And I enjoy doing stuff with my friends. Pretty much all my friends have their license or their Ps now, and I don't even have my Ls. So I don't get out much, and not many friends live near me.
That may be getting pretty close to a wrapping up point, but there is one question I have to ask you before we go, and that is, of course, about too many items. I remember back at one point, your post on the Minecraft forums disappeared, and there seemed to be some controversy over NEI and TMI being the same code. Can you elaborate on the whole situation that happened there?
Well, I started working off of TMI because, well, it makes sense to start with something that works and then expand on it. And during the process, I changed a lot, but there were still bits of TMI left. And I could say it was about, like, all of the new stuff was my code, but about maybe half of Marglyph's code remained in Not Enough Items when it was first released. So for a week before releasing it, people who'd heard about it were like, oh, when it's going to be released? And I'm like, oh, soon. I just got to make sure everything's okay with Marglyph. So I sent him a message and waited for a week, and he didn't reply. Apparently he was on holidays, apparently, but I can understand if he was on holidays. And about 2 days after Not Enough Items was released, and people started talking about it and exclaiming about the new things it added and how it was different to too many items, Marglyph replied to my post, and, well, the message I sent him. And he said that, no, I couldn't use his code. And I said, okay, that was fine. I just thought I'd ask you, because if I could, that would be much easier, and I'll rewrite the parts that were his. So I set to work removing all the parts that were his and rewriting them with mine, and I did that, and within about a day, which wasn't enough time for me to finish, I found my original post was deleted by a forum admin, and Marglyph wasn't too impressed about replying. I found out later that Marglyph had asked for the post to be deleted, and I thought, well, you could have been nice about it and given me a little time. And so once I finished, I sent him it well, I tried to put my post back and found I wasn't allowed to, first of all, and so I said, Margaret, can you please tell these guys that it's okay to have my post back? Here's my new code. You can have a look through and see that it doesn't have any of yours in it. And, well, he didn't. And somebody else made a thread about where's it gone, this new mod, not enough items, I can't find it anymore.
Nah, I remember seeing that one.
And so Margolith himself even replied to that, and there were people catching on, so I thought it'd be a good place to place the controversy, seeing as people were actually going to read it. And eventually I didn't get any replies from Margolith on that either, after people sided, if you will, with me, and I pretty much just asked nicely, and in a public place so everybody could see, can you have a look at this code, and you can see that it's none of yours in it anymore, so I can repost. That never happened. So eventually, I went to them. I found out there was internet IRC for the forum admins. So I went there and got onto Citrix Squid, who was fairly friendly, and he said, alright, just all you have to do is show me. So I made up a few diff files, showed the massive changes, and that the code was completely different now, and Citrix Squid authorized me to put my post back, and that was pretty much all of the controversy. And from then on, haven't heard much about it. But pretty much, short version, I thought I'll start off something that works, and then if Margolith isn't okay, it means a little bit more work for me. But I guess I was a bit naive, and rather than giving me a little time to remove it, he decided he was going to remove my post and then not help. I'd rather not assume motives. And so it took a while, but eventually I got it back through some forum admins.
That's something I have seen on the Minecraft forums. Things, and as soon as any kind of flag goes up, something just gets deleted instantly. There's no questions asked or any time to work anything out. I don't know how long you've been playing Minecraft, but do you remember inventory edit?
Yeah.
It's still around,
but I used to have inventory edit.
For those
still have a really old copy of it.
For those of you who don't know what inventory edit is, you used to have to close out your Minecraft, open up the inventory edit interface, I guess you call it, and you add the blocks you want in your inventory, click save, and start Minecraft back up, and that stuff is in your inventory. But once you run out, you close Minecraft again and have to do that step all over again. Now, when too many items came out, that kind of eliminated that step of closing out and reopening Minecraft, which was absolutely great. And this is where I kind of side with Chicken Bones on this. Too many items is great and was great and all that stuff, but not enough items has so many more features to it, and it's just a different take on the same idea. Inventory edit, too many items and not enough items are, I hope I'm not saying this wrong, but are pretty much the same thing, in general. It's just getting you items without having to go through creative, but each one has a different way of doing it and different sets of features. And I hated it that you have to go through something like that. Just
add that a prominent feature of not enough items is the recipe mode, which pretty much allows you to just view the recipes of items easily, and it won't affect your gameplay experience at all. You may have seen some YouTubers like Wolf20 use it in their Let's Plays and mod reviews. It pretty much just gives you an in-game recipe book in that mode, so you can play without cheating and still use the recipe feature as opposed to recipe book. And I didn't hear anything from the creator of recipe book.
I mean, really, that's just another improved idea to me. I mean, I do a Let's Play that some of my subs kept asking me to do, and I don't like doing it because I think me talking is kind of boring, but I am horrible with remembering recipes. I am absolutely horrible at it. And now that when I found not enough items, there's just no way I can go back to anything else. I have to have it. I can't play without it. But is there any bad blood still between you guys, or is it kind of all worked out and over with, and everybody said their piece?
Well, I never heard from him again after that, so I don't particularly like to make assumptions. But yeah, I pretty much don't hear from him at all. So there's the occasional people who like to post about this is way better than too many items, and I take it as a bit of a compliment. And there was one guy the other day who said too many items is clearly lost, and I had to reply that there's definitely competition, but there's no winning or losing. Just because somebody else's mod is more popular doesn't mean the other person loses.
I got a feeling with him, it's for a while he was the only one, and when your mod came out, it kind of, I don't know for sure. I'm guessing that with the more popular NEI it gets, that's less downloads for him.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, you can see better than Wolves and Flowerchild. He wasn't too impressed with what LRM did with Red Power, and the controversy with them still ensues. So it seems like when somebody has a monopoly on the domain of a Minecraft mod, people don't like relinquishing it.
No,
But
they'll
I mean,
hold on
I've seen
forever.
a couple of my things that have, like, a couple of my ideas that were first in something I made go into other mods, and I have to, like, you get the original impression, oh no, he, like, stole that from me, that was totally mine first. But you step back and think about it, and you think, well, he wants to have that in his mod, he doesn't want his mod to require something else just so he can have that feature. That's definitely fair enough.
Yep. There are definitely some. The more features you add to NEI, and the more I use it, the more I love it. I use a lot of mods in my Let's Play, and just me playing in general. I use a lot of mods, and there's one feature for the. I'm blanking on what it's called, but where you can dump the unused block IDs into a text form.
Oh yeah, that was something I added just recently, and it's quite useful. You can just dump all your block IDs and item IDs and unused ones into a text file, and so when you're adding mods and you get ID conflict, you know where you can put them, which makes life a whole much easier.
Yes, if you don't know about this feature, go to your options in NEI and look at it, because it will save you so much time if you're not so up on figuring out block IDs. It's amazing. It's extremely helpful. Make sure you check that one out. But yeah, I think that will bring us to a wrapping up point. I do want to thank Chicken Bones for stopping in and talking to us. It was a lot of fun and very informative. And again, thank you for your time, and I'm glad you stopped by.
Okay, no problem. Bye.
You guys have a good day.